Hello everyone, Praisedscooter here. The year 2015 has been a great year for the independent crowd, as well as many companies with very unique ideas. Even some have found themselves as a shining light in the game community for their very first game made. And I've come to you today to bring you what I feel is probably the best games made in this year, or at least produced and available to play this year. Now, just so you know, this isn't some overarching opinion from the whole internet on what's the best game ever. This is just me. One voice out of a crowd shouting from the hilltops as to what he thought was the best of the best. Some quick explanations here first though. This is just my personal top 10 list, not anyone else's. If you don't like any of my choices or think I'm wrong, hey, that's perfectly fine. That's the uniqueness of the internet. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Additionally, there are some games that some people have fallen in love with, or even games that I know I would have probably loved and would have added to a top 10 list like this, if I had time to play them. So I'm just making note that if I feel I've not spent enough time in a game to justify adding it to a list like this, then it's not on here. So no Witcher 3 or Undertale. With all that mumbo jumbo aside, let's dive right in. My personal top 10 games of 2015. Before the actual top 10, I want to give some mentions to a few titles that came out in previous years that I've spent many hours playing with friends or by myself. First being South Park: The Stick of Truth. This game is something ripped right out of the minds of Matt and Trey. Terrible jokes, horrible imagery, and more fart jokes than you can shake a stick at. Or shake a poop on a stick at. Actually, don't shake a stick at it. You might catch a spell on that stick. Beyond the feel of a South Park episode through and through, the game actually has a pretty decent combat system in place with many ways to combine skills, stats, and modifiers to make your perfect combat strategy. The classes have some amazing synergy with the perks in the game and also with the buddies you can also take control of while you're playing. In my mind, it was one of the best introductory RPGs that have been introduced for a long time, like I want to say since some of the Paper Mario titles. Next up being League of Legends. Now I had been playing League on and off for the past few years, touching very lightly on it. I wasn't too much a fan of MOBAs, as most people I have played with will attest to. I wasn't willing to accept that this genre could be fun, or even playable for that matter. This year though, League of Legends had huge appearance on game changes to make everything loads more friendly to newer players. Recommended item builds, suggested skill selections, graphs for which champions do what and how hard they are to master, the works. Since then, I've played almost every game with gusto, whether I win or lose. In the end, I'm just playing it to have fun. And now that I've gotten to that point in playing the game where I'm building item sets not based off the recommend page, it kind of feels supernatural compared to where it was several years ago. It's been a great time getting into this super popular game. Lastly, anime. Sugoi as fuck. I have been playing lots of 100% Orange Juice. A game that's basically so RNG, or random number generator, Mario Party will run it with its tail between its legs. Everything is determined by a dice roll. And I do mean everything. Combat, movement, star collection, everything. There's still some degree of strategy involved in this game, with your card selection you pick for each character and which characters you choose and whatnot. But even so, it's balanced in a way that the guy with the max number of cards of every type of card still won't be the overall victor. RNG as fuck, but still balanced by using that to its advantage. Now that we've gone through these honorable mentions, let's move on to the actual top 10 games themselves. Number 10. What do you do when I'm gone? Probably nothing. The concept of Action Hank, that you were once the world's fastest toy, but you've let yourself go over the years. Basking in your image. One day your rival gets tired of your lazy attitude and takes your pride and joy, your Best Toy Award. Now you gotta chase him down and get it back. Action Hank is a game that plays around with something a lot of indie titles try to do, but most of the time sort of fail at. Physics and momentum. You move pretty fast already, but you use a sliding mechanism to build up that speed and get it going even faster. You can also race for a fastest time not only amongst preset ghosts, but also against friends and other players around the world. Now the thing that makes me love this game as much as it is actually its art style and the setting that, well, like I said, makes it amazing. It feels like this big epic world runner, But if you do pull yourself away from the game for just a little bit, you see that everything is set up on a Hot Wheels track in a kid's room, complete with other Hank memorabilia, action figures that are not descriptive enough to invoke copyright, and many other things you would see in a young child's room. The game is very fast-paced and frustrating at times, but that's mainly due to going into levels blind and your own personal perfectionism getting in the way. But it's super satisfying when you beat a level. The head rush makes all the diligent work so worth it. Until you realize you only got silver and not gold.
Number 9.
Fast Racing Neo is my number 9. Now, I do love me a good racing game. Being good at them? Not so much. Oh, come the fuck on! But when I can feel the speed as I'm whipping down a racetrack at 600 miles per hour, feeling the G-force is strong enough to crush a walnut, yeah, I kinda get a rush. I feel like this game is the evolution of what the F-Zero games would be if Nintendo had decided not to drop Captain Falcon harder than a 300-pound bag of crap. Except when Smash Bros. Rolls around again. Now, to keep your mind more active in the game and not just focused about going as fast as possible, there are some boost pads, jump pads that you need to coordinate your vehicle alignment with in order to use them, or you'll get severely slowed or even miss the platform you're jumping to and be sent back further in the race. There are also many hazards, some visual, some lethal, that will make it difficult to race at maximum velocity. With so many different environments to race through with their own unique hazards, shortcuts, and tricks to speed ahead of the competition, I feel this really late entry into 2015 should register on everyone's radar who's a fan of racing games.
Number 8.
The Earth's smallest defendant comes to the call when our natural resources are compromised. I said Earth. That's PNF 404. Chibi-Robo steps up to the plate again, when the humans he helped so much in his previous adventures are in danger of losing their power supply, and he himself is at risk. Now, I love this fairly simple game. It's stuck to a familiar platform style that most of us have grown up with or expect from Nintendo platformers at this point. But once they had the groundwork set in place for that, they added in a bunch of grapple points and swinging mechanics to make it a fast-paced adventure. There's also a bit of a pseudo Yoshi's Island feel to it, with the collectibles and rewards for getting all of them. And even a little bit in the fact that if you have the amiibo for this game, you can power it up to use its supercharged mode a little bit more often. I love how when you're playing, you can tell exactly where the stage takes place, and the game keeps in mind that Chibi-Robo is approximately 4 inches tall. So the scenery plays to this strength by being nothing more than background noise until you stop and look and go, I just had trouble climbing a baseball. The roulette-based map movement doesn't help much to its appeal to the general public, but that's a small smear on this otherwise fantastic and charming title.
Number 7.
Everything is so fluffy! Yoshi's Woolly World is a fantastic return to form, back to what Yoshi's Island was on the Super Nintendo. Everything feels spot on to that. The flutter, the exploration, the one red coin you missed due to a BS hidden mystery cloud. Yeah, 1-to-1. I did have a lot of fun with this title, roaming through the stages trying to find everything, and occasionally panicking at the new curves thrown at me to make sure I'm not too comfortable in my surroundings. The thing I think I enjoyed most about this game, outside of the actual gameplay, is the yarn aesthetic being used to its full effect. Enemies are very sewing supplies, the coins you collect are sequin beads, and everything that is yarn does have that fuzz look to it that most yarn-made objects have on them. A lot of enemies do also abuse the fact that everything is yarn by tearing holes in fabric or re-knitting platforms or things of that sort. Everything is just visibly appealing while keeping the theming perfect. This game also makes good use of my amiibo collection. Not that I have a problem or anything. Shut up.
Number 6.
Quack. Duck Game is the best example of a game that has a simple concept. Shoot the other person without getting shot yourself. This simple concept is made fantastic by the fact that you can play both local and online multiplayer with anyone at any time. And what keeps it fresh is the staggering amount of different weapons you can use. From a useless dart gun, to a flamethrower, to a gauze laser, to the glorious quad glacier, to a rock just dropping someone's head, to a sword. I also love the Genesis-inspired soundtrack, right down to that dirty guitar that plays all throughout it. The game is just silly how it presents itself too. I mean, literally, you're a duck, shooting guns. That's it. I wish I really could say more with words, but that's really hard to do for a game like this, so the actions speak greater volumes with this particular type of game.
Number 5.
Number 6 on this list goes to Rocket League. Once again, this is a title with a super simple concept, but executed flawlessly. On the surface, all you're doing is playing soccer, or football for my friends outside of the States. This sounds simple, until you realize you're trying to do this with a rocket power RC car. Driving up the walls, flying through the air, doing flips, and trying to steer a car on a pinpoint location. The aesthetic of how the game is presented is done with such an amazing prowess. It's almost like it's a sport in the future, complete with an audience watching the action. By the way, all these people out here are just Unity character placeholders. We got stadium, lights, loud announcer, pump and jams, the works. Like I said with the previous game in this list, this is a game that's more appreciated with its actions and not so much with words said.
Number 4.
Number 4 on my list is One Piece Pirate Warriors 3. Ever since Pirate Warriors came about, I've been diving hard into the Dynasty Warriors style games with gusto, and this entry is no exception to this rule. From the actual manga or anime adaptation, I dabble in One Piece, being that whenever I visit some friends, I usually have to sit through a binge of a couple episodes of the show with them. I'm mostly up to date on what's been happening with the series, and like that it's serious when it needs to be, but is really silly at the drop of a hat. On the flip side, what the game does is a lot of the same good things that Hyrule Warriors did, but they added in a few unique and amazing features, such as subplots that can be triggered by going to a certain area of the map, having your friends jump in at the end of a combo to deal a final knockup hit, or setting up the next combo. The game also does a fantastic job capturing the manga-style drawing while still keeping its 3D art style. Like, you'll see a lot of the shadings that are used in manga drawings on the regular characters themselves and in dialogue, but keep in mind, it is still all 3D art. The game's dialogue is in Japanese with English subtitles, which brings the ever-present subs versus dubs argument, but I do feel that the Japanese voiceovers do add more compared to the English ones. I wish I really could describe it, but a lot of Japanese voice acting has that certain oomph that a lot of English voiceovers don't really have. What this game does and many other Dynasty Warriors style games do, it lets me enjoy beating the hell out of as many enemies as one. Just so much satisfaction that keeps me occupied for hours.
Number 3.
They're taking over.
Splatoon was Nintendo's first attempt at an original IP in a solid 10 years, and it has been met with the highest amount of praise. The strangest thing is this is Nintendo's first attempt at a competitive online shooter, and they bent the rules of an online competitive shooter to give us something original. The simple concept of land claimed over kills made for victory is something a shooter hasn't done yet, and it makes this style of game the best to play. You can tell that Nintendo had a lot of fun with this title, as everything just explodes with this style and energy that not many games have in a while. The music is extremely catchy, the locales memorable and themed very well, and the characters extremely memorable, as everybody fights over who is best waifu. Regardless, Nintendo really blew it out of the water with this one. something that might take them quite some time to come back to again.
Number 2.
Water. Water. Need water. I've been playing RPGs for nothing but 5 months. Oh, there go the lights again.
Okay, so I haven't been able to sink that much time into Xenoblade Chronicles X yet, but from what I have played, I am extremely blown away by what I've seen. A free-flowing combat system, a choice system that makes the game as difficult or as easy as you wish, crafting, an overly huge world to be in, mech fights. Christ, this game is massive, plus it feels like you're actually part of the game. A majority of the conversations you take part in, you choose what path the conversation goes down. And I think the conversation actually changes and molds itself based on what choices you've made in conversations. I can tell from just this short amount of time that I've had with the game that it's going to be a massive RPG with a huge amount of time commitment to complete. But even in the first hour or so, I can tell this is going to be a monumental game with loads of charm, strategy, side quests, a lot of things that major RPGs strive to achieve. But most of them kind of fail. Before we get into the number 1 on this list, I'm going to recap on everything just to see if you can kind of tell where the list is pointing at, well, at this point. At number 10, we have Action Hank. Number 9, Fast Racing Neo. Number 8, Chibi-Robo Ziplash. Number 7, Yoshi's Woolly World. Number 6, Duck Game. Number 5, Rocket League. Number 4, One Piece Pirates Warriors 3. Number 3, Splatoon. And number 2, Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Number 1.
My number 1 game from 2015 is
Transformers Devastation.
Platinum Games has outdone themselves once again. Not only did they deliver us their tried and true game style, a spectacle beat-em-up fighter, they added so much more into it, such as gun combat, racing, weapon upgrading. I'm surprised there's not a stealth segment in here. While making this game, Platinum also stayed super faithful to the cartoon series, with each character's personality staying intact from the cartoon. And, if available, also getting the original voice cast to voice over for this game. Peter Cullen being the voice of Optimus Prime, who's a stoic, heroic leader, Bumblebee the smart mouth, Megatron being quite overconfident in his abilities, yet succeeding at what he attempts almost all the time, and Starscream still trying to throw over Megatron and smack-talking him right to his face. The combat in this game is super fluid, and you do know that every time you push a button or make an input, it's your reaction time that made or failed your attack, what your attacks were, and also allowed you to perform that combo rather than something cheap the game threw at you out of nowhere. In the end, I am super happy that this game did stay faithful to the original cartoon series instead of trying to follow the movies, while still trying a lot of new things for the Transformers series. It's all I really asked for in a game. And Transformers Devastation delivered. Thank you so much for watching. Now I do want to reiterate something that I said at the start of this video. If a game you loved this year did not appear on this list, don't worry too much. Everyone has different tastes in games, so everybody has a top 10 list of their own that they feel is the best game this year. Speaking of which, did you have some games that you loved playing this year that came out? I would love to hear what you have to say. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you enjoyed this year game-wise. Now this sort of thing I don't do too often on my videos, but if you liked what you saw today, would I be able to trouble you for a like? It more or less lets me know I did a good job or not. Did you enjoy my voice, my style, or anything about what you've seen here today? Well, you can subscribe to me right down here, or is it here, somewhere around here, and keep up to date on what I do. I generally release 1 video per day, sometimes 2 depending upon video crunch or anything like that, in either the Let's Play style or review format. and occasionally there will be a few skits in there as well. And any of these videos can cover a great range of generation, really, from recent consoles or PC titles all the way back to the 8-bit glory days. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you around in another video. Have a good day, everyone.